Hello, this is Mark Fulmer. I want to talk to you about a new and exciting Bible prophecy program with Latter Rain Ministries. It's called the Times Remnant. You might be asking, why another end times prophecy program? Aren't there dozens of programs, teachers, and podcasts? Yes, there is a lot of great content out there that you can find in abundance on the internet and on TV programs. So on this special introduction video, I want to share with you my vision and my calling for the End Times Remnant program and what I believe that will make this program unique. So stay tuned. The greater extent of eschatology has been shaped historically by the evangelical church. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing of itself. However, institutional ecclesiology, or what I refer to as historic Christendom, over the past 1900 years, has moved away from its Jewish roots. Let me explain a little bit about that, what I mean. The Bible was written in the Holy Land of Israel. All of the great patriarchs, the prophets of the Jewish faith, they are the ones who laid the foundation for our Christian beliefs. The Christian faith is essentially Jewish in essence. It has a Jewish Messiah, Jewish disciples who also wrote the New Testament. So even in my own study of eschatology, I was missing a key element of understanding. I've studied Bible prophecy all of my adult life and even pursued an advanced doctoral training in seminary and thought that I had a fairly good comprehension of end times prophecy, of end times teaching. However, it wasn't until I began studying alongside of some Messianic Jewish believers that I realized I had been looking at Bible prophecy from what I call a bland black and white perspective. And when I became acquainted with Jewish end time teaching and was introduced to end time Jewish scholars, Messianic scholars as well, it was from there that my understanding was completely enhanced regarding eschatology. Now I see things in what I call vivid color rather than just merely black and white. So when studying Bible prophecy, I invite you on this journey with me in our End Times Remnant program. So to fully comprehend Bible prophecy, we need to get back to the Jewish context of scriptures and understanding from its basic hermeneutical principles, the principles of biblical interpretation, especially interpretation of Bible prophecy. See, much of our theology, especially eschatology, the study of the end times or the last days and the return of Jesus, has been separated from its original Jewish roots. And that's tragic in of itself, because my vision for this new program we're launching called the End Times Remnant is the study the last days, or the end of days, as the Messianic Judaism refers to, within the context of Judaism, especially what Messianic Jews have also added to this rich dialogue of eschatology and end times prophecy. The end of days was not merely an afterthought for the Jewish people. We know from the testimony of over 2,000 years of rabbinic commentary and writings such as the Midrash, the hope of Israel's final redemption and the coming of the Messiah were not only intrinsic to their faith, but this belief literally spills over in every page of Scripture, the Jewish Torah and the prophets. The Hebrew Scriptures exudes with the expectation of future consummation of the age. In addition to the Jewish Tanakh, known as the Torah, the prophets, and the poetic writings, Jewish apocalyptic literature also contain rich allusions to the topic known as the end of days. Entire Jewish communities dedicated themselves to the study of the end times, like the sons of Issachar mentioned in 1 Chronicles 12:32, who understood or discerned the signs of the times in which they live, and had knowledge and wisdom for what Israel should do. The Hebrew prophets, such as Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, Zechariah, Haggai, Joel, and Zephaniah, received special prophetic revelation and recorded it as a message for the nation of Israel for the end of days. They were a part of God's remnant of faithful believers anticipating the coming of Messiah. Now, the remnant is a very important theme. I've written about it in my latest book, and it's a theme you'll hear throughout our program on the End Times Remnant. Let's look at a remnant community that existed in the Qumran, or known as the Dead Sea community as well. After the exile during what we call the intertestamental period, from the post-exilic times of biblical history and from the time of the Maccabean revolts. This period also extends between the book of Malachi in the early 2nd century and the time of Jesus, when devout Jews set themselves apart in monastic communities in the Dead Sea region. They believed that they were to live as a holy remnant in anticipation of the coming of the Messiah. They not only meticulously copied and preserved many of the Old Testament manuscripts that archaeologists have discovered in the 19th century, but they also wrote extensive apocalyptic literature that sheds light on Jewish eschatology. So Jewish eschatology is the key for understanding what Jesus taught about the signs of the end times in the Olivet Discourse passages in Matthew 24, Luke 21, and Mark 13, when he sat down on the Mount of Olives and he gave that sermon that message speaking to them about end times event. This was crucial for helping us to understand the book of Revelation, which is filled also with rich Hebraic terms. So terminology that Jesus uses in the Olivet Discourse passages is very deeply Hebraic. It's Hebrew. And unless you know the terminology, and that's what we endeavor to do in the End Times Remnant prophetic program, is to be able to, when we look at what Jesus is saying about the signs being the beginning of the birth pains, all of this comes in the context of the understanding the meaning of the Jewish prophets, the Jewish scriptures. For that reason, it's not surprising that much of Jewish eschatology has a different view from most evangelical interpretation of Bible prophecy that was created in what I call this ecclesiastical silo apart from its Jewish roots. Topics like the rapture, the millennial kingdom, the millennial reign of Christ, or even the tribulation will take on new and rich meaning in the light of Jewish eschatology and apocalyptic literature. Therefore, in this program, I'll be sharing the Jewish perspective of the rabbinic thought and interpretation when we approach books like the book of Revelation. I already shared with you how the End Times Remnant program will feature what I call this beautiful tapestry or mosaic of Jewish eschatology to help enhance our understanding on the end times and how that represents our most important foundational approach to the study of Bible prophecy. A second perspective that makes this program, End Times Remnant, unique, in addition to looking at Jewish apocalyptic literature and understanding Jewish eschatology, is that our program is also within the context of the geopolitical. In addition to being a Bible prophecy teacher, I am also a geopolitical researcher. Several years ago, I established a geopolitical research organization called Real Geopolitics. You can get more information on our website, Real Geopolitics. It's spelled with a K, by the way, because it comes from a German word, Real Politik, and realgeopolitics.com. Our goal is to take complex geopolitical events and to help individuals understand what we call is the big picture behind world events. What do I mean by this? Most importantly, the research that we do is done through a Christian biblical worldview. We don't rely solely upon the secular mainstream media narrative to help interpret world events. We are an international team of researchers and investigative journalists. I am blessed to have this international research team who all share a Christian biblical worldview. They're believers from around the world who research current events, as well as provide cutting-edge investigative journalism. My geopolitical research has been professionally peer-reviewed by leading academic authorities and subject matter experts in the geopolitical realm. So I want to say, what does this have to do with Bible prophecy? Well, I like to mention, as often as my pastor also says, that it's not only political, but it's spiritual. That applies to local and national as well, because when we get into political issues, they spill over into the realm of the spiritual and the moral. Well, in the same way, on a macrocosm view, we can say the same for global politics, global policy, global foreign policy. It's not just merely geopolitical, but it's also spiritual. Therefore, Real Geopolitics is an action team. You might call it an anti-globalist resistance movement opposing an antichrist one world order. We support many great works and like-minded international organizations around the world fighting human trafficking, government tyranny, and the persecution of Christians. So Bible prophecy and the geopolitical do intersect. On the End Times Remnant program, we do not merely submit to you what I call fly-by-the-night, hit-and-miss newspaper eschatology. You will hear a lot of these teachers, they'll do a podcast or something you will see about some sort of event and tying that to the end times. We don't do that. We carefully research and evaluate world events. And then we look at scriptures that possibly link to those events and determine if there is prophetic significance behind those events. So we will provide a cutting-edge geopolitical analysis from a biblical worldview. You have to look at everything in the world, from world governments of the United Nations to the Davos elites in Switzerland, and also the ambitions of the global elites that parallels Bible prophecy. Since Israel became a nation in 1948, geopolitical events have rapidly accelerated in step with end times prophecy. Events in the Middle East, Europe, and around the world are intrinsically connected to the signs of the times and where we are headed before the return of Christ. We know that there will be wars, rumors of wars, kingdom rising against kingdom, nation against nation, famines and pestilence, earthquakes. And Jesus said, yet these are just the beginning of the birth pains. Jesus spoke of the necessity for reading the signs of the times. And this applies really to geopolitical events and things that are happening in the world all around us. So that we'll be like those sons of Issachar who understood, they discerned the times. Well, geopolitical events are also a valuable tool for helping us interpret the signs. And Jesus, matter of fact, mentioned, he rebuked individuals by saying that, hey, you know how to interpret the weather and read the signs of the weather, but when it comes to the signs of the end times, you need to even pay all the much more closer and diligent attention to what's happening around you in current events. So the geopolitical and the eschatological, they intersect with one another and what we do in End Times Remnant program. I hope that you will join us on the End Times Remnant, and as we study Bible prophecy together. If you like our programs, I would ask you please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube videos. You can find them. They're under my name, under my own channel. My name, Mark Fulmer. Search in your YouTube browser, search browser, put in my name, Mark Fulmer, last name Fulmer, and you will see the programs that we produce. And I would ask that you also, would you prayerfully consider supporting our program? If so, I would ask, scan the QR code that you see on the screen and contribute any dollar amount. When you do, for any amount, any donation that you make, will go toward this work, the production of these videos, the editing, the cost that's behind them. Then I will send you a free gift of my latest book, The Remnant for Such a Time as This. So when you scan that QR code, include that information in your donation as well, with an email address or text message. Also, feel free to drop me a line to my email address, That's mark@latterrainrenewal.com. Latter rain, one word, and then a hyphen, renewal.com. We look forward to seeing you soon. Shalom and Maranatha, come quickly, Lord Jesus.